Okay, so now listen. This message here is titled Research, right? Now, this was one of the shorter messages, but this was one of the messages that I wanted to bring out, right? This message is titled Research. Now, I want everybody to understand something because the times that we're going in right now are very tricky, okay? So many of you need to understand exactly what's going on right now. Now, I'm telling y'all, they're very tricky times, okay? I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about, all right? Now, whenever most people, pretty much everybody, for the most part, right? Whenever you go and you want to research something, right? You go to Google, right? Now, none of us can deny this. This includes me. Now, I don't utilize Google as much as many as you all utilize Google. But for the most part, whenever somebody goes to research something, many of you all, you go to Google to research, right? Of course you do. Now, many of you may not know this, right? But either Google owns YouTube. I think Google owns YouTube, right? So if this is true, then, for instance, how many of us go to YouTube University? I do it all the time. I don't necessarily use the Google search engine, but I always go to YouTube University. All the time. Okay? Why? Because, right? YouTube University, let's admit it, right? You can find anything on YouTube. Now, why do people use YouTube University? Most likely probably to save a couple dollars. In my case, I may not have a couple dollars. Or I may be trying to save the couple dollars. Right? Either way you look at it, right? YouTube University is there for everybody. And we all use YouTube University from one corner of the planet to the next. Nobody can deny that. Whether it's something small or whether it's something large, right? But there's something I want you all to understand about Google. Google don't know everything. Okay? Google knows a lot. Maps are uploaded onto Google. All types of history is uploaded onto Google, right? A lot of things are uploaded onto Google, right? Let's talk about encyclopedias. Dictionaries are uploaded onto Google, right? Dictionary books are a thing of the past. Why? Because all you got to do is Google it. But Google doesn't tell us everything, right? Google doesn't tell us everything. All right, now, I want to go to a scripture, right? Okay. So, first thing we need to understand is that knowledge, Christ created knowledge. Knowledge has two participants. And I want you all to pay very careful attention to what I'm saying, right? Knowledge has two participants. Okay? The first participant, okay, is good. And the second participant is evil. Okay? So you got good and you got evil. Now, let's go to Isaiah 45:7 real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 45 and 7, okay? And it's going to say, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahuwah, do these things. Okay? And Yahuwah, well, let's before I move on, let's understand that Christ is the creator of good and evil. Now, I want to stop for a minute, right? Because I understand why many of you all are not going to take this message seriously. I understand that. So I want to pause for a minute. I'm very aware that many people are not going to take this message very seriously for many different reasons. Okay? Many of you aren't going to take this message seriously for many different reasons. Many people have their own reasons. All right? Now, I want you all to think about the past for a minute. Not all of you, because those of you who are who are the uncircumcision, more so the unbelievers, right? You all might not completely understand what I'm saying here. But those of you who are in the circumcision, who are of the believers, you'll completely understand. Now, when you think about it, there was always a few people, right? There was always a few people that listened to the prophets and that listened to the apostles, right? Always a few people. Now, you got to understand something. Why is that the case? Because it's always the majority that shuns away from the apostles. It's always the majority that shuns away from the prophets. But we need to understand why. The reason is ignorance. Okay? One of the reasons why people shun away from the apostles and people shun away from the prophets is because of ignorance. That's one of the reasons. Other reasons is because the apostles and the prophets aren't cool. They're just not popular enough. They're just not cool. Right? Those are two of the reasons. Right? But as we all know, speaking to the circumcision, as we all know, there are more reasons. Okay? Now, I want you all to pay attention to this message, okay? So we know that Christ is the creator of good and evil. Christ is the creator of knowledge, okay? Two participants to knowledge, okay? One being good and the other being evil, okay? Now, let me explain, because Satan and everybody like him, okay? All the servants of Christ, all the heavenly servants of Christ already existed. They pre-existed, right? You all know that, right? Okay. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden. And there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, you got to understand something. You got to understand something. Adam and Eve didn't know evil. Adam didn't know evil, and Eve didn't know evil. Right? To be honest with you, they really didn't know good either. They didn't know the contrast of the two. Let me repeat that. See, remember I told you how Christ is neutral, right? Some people would like to look at Christ as a good guy. Some people would like to look at him as a bad guy. Believe it or not, there are some people that look at Christ as a bad guy. He's neither. Remember I told you that, right? So Adam and Eve were simply supposed to follow instructions. Okay? He told them both not to do what? Not to eat from the tree in the midst of the garden. Okay? Now, there's a lot of foolishness going on. Some people say that Satan, or the Satan, came to Eve as a man. That's false. And some people say that it wasn't an actual tree in the garden, but that tree represented Satan, or that tree represented a man. No, that's false too. It was an actual tree, and Satan did approach Eve as the incarnate. Okay? So, but that's a different story, right? So we're not going to really get into that, right? Now, I want you all to pay attention. Okay? Okay. All right. So let us go real quick, right? I want us to go to Isaiah 55, okay? Go to Isaiah 55 and chapter 6. Now, I want to show y'all something, okay? Isaiah 55. We're going to start at chapter 6. Okay? Now, I need y'all to listen. I'm tired. Even though I slept all day, I picked my wife up from work. I really didn't start my day till not too long ago. But I want you to pay attention, right? Isaiah chapter 55. I'm going to start at verse 6. And I want you all to listen, okay? It says, verse 6. It says, seek ye Yahuwah while he may be found. Now, this message is titled Research, okay? Seek ye Yahuwah while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Now, I understand, once again, for many reasons why people don't take the prophets of God seriously, because they don't understand us. Okay? It's saying, seek ye Yahuwah while he may be found. All right? Meaning, a window is going to close very shortly. Okay? What's very shortly? Not next year. not the year after next, not the year after that, right? We have a little bit of time, right? But I'm warning you all right now that the window is closing. And it's like an investment, right? Now you have some time, but it's like an investment, okay? Meaning that your creator, I'm primarily speaking to black people right here for a minute, right? Your creator is calling you. Okay? Now, the prophets and apostles, we have a hard way to go with trying to get people to listen to us. All right? There's a lot of people out here, they don't understand. Okay? Now, this message is going to come together. It's not a very long message. It's not too short either. All right? But I want you to pay attention, okay? Then he's going to say, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Right? Are not your thoughts, he says, and let him return unto Yahuwah, and he will have mercy upon him. And to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. This is my point here. Christ is going to say now, for my thoughts are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth for thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth the bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of the mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Listen, the words that we all speak, the apostles and the prophets, these words will not go, they will not go void. Now, I'm telling you all this right now. These words will not go void. They shall complete their task. So everything that I'm saying, everything that you see these other apostles say, everything you see these other prophets say, right? These words will hang in balance, and they will come to pass. They will happen. Now, one of the things that's destroying us as a nation is all of these social media personalities, right? They got all of these coaches, right? And they got all of these people across social media, right? Whether they be so-called inspiration speakers or no matter who they be, right? And then they have the religions, and then they have the customs of the other nations, right? Now, let alone the fact that Christ hasn't called many of you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Let alone that, you also got to understand that many of you are ignorant because you don't understand knowledge and you don't research. Okay? So, what's the problem with social media? One of the main problems with social media is simple. Everybody leans on their own understanding. How many coaches and advisors do you have on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, right? All of these coaches, all of these advisors, and none of them are saving souls. None of them. Black people seem to know everything. Not just black people, but a lot of white people too. Many of you all lean on your own understanding. You listen to all of these other personalities out here. You got these professors. You got people that they may get out of jail. And so they think that that can save a soul. It may can temporarily save a life. You got all these professors. You got all these coaches. You got all these people here, right? None of them are given the word of Elohim. None of them are given the word of life. There's only one word of life. Right? So at the end of the day, you understand what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you people are destroying yourselves. Okay? Hang in there. I'm gonna get to my point here, right? You got Google. You got coaches. You got social media inspirers. You got politicians. You got professors. You have all of these people. And nobody's contributing to the kingdom. None of you are contributing to the kingdom. None of you can see past this matrix. None of you. Very, very few of you can, but the majority of you can't. Right? Now, I want to move on for a minute because he's going to say, for my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So see, the reason why none of you can see what's going on right now is because you don't have the mind of Christ. So many of you don't think that you can have the mind of God, right? You say, well, it tells you in the Old Testament, you couldn't think like God. You couldn't think like Elohim. Why? How you know? Because he said it. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are higher than our ways. Right? He said, just as the heavens are higher, though is my thoughts and my ways higher. But in the New Testament, it gets a little tricky. Because then he's going to come down here as a man. He's going to come amongst his people. He taught his people, right? The disciples, and specifically, right? He came among his people. Now, many of you don't know that he's here among us today, but not all of his people, right? Only some of us, right? Because many of us don't understand. All right? Now, I want to show y'all something. Okay, let us bodily training. Let's go to Proverbs. Is that what I want? Or do I want, yeah. Let's go to Proverbs real quick. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 4. Let's go to Proverbs and let's go to chapter 4. And we're going to start off at the top, right? And we're going to read down to verse 10. Now, this is Proverbs. This is chapter 4. And we're going to read 1 through 10, okay? It's going to say this. Hear, ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding. Now this is Solomon talking, okay? Listen. Hear, ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also, and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not. Her means don't forsake wisdom. And she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Then he's going to say, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. With all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. Talking about wisdom. She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. I need to explain to you all how important it is right now to be wise. Because we're going into some very dark times. I'm telling y'all, the times that we're going in are extremely dark right now. Okay? Now, many of you're not doing any research whatsoever. You're not researching in the Bible, nor are you paying attention to the things that are around you. Many of you are not paying attention to anything around you. You're paying attention to the wrong things. Now, I'm starting to understand more and more and more why the prophets and the apostles, why the majority of the people didn't listen to us. Now I understand why there's a narrow gate and there's a narrow road. There will be many things that will attempt to derail the word of Christ. Now, I know my slanderers. See, at this point, right, we got to understand something, right? I understand a lot of gentlemen out there, right? I'm not concerned about what many of the women are thinking. Here's why. Because you have Christ. Hold up, I'll be right back.